What's up guys, Nolan here, and with all the crazy accusations being thrown around for Tarkov and BSG, I felt it was time to discuss the only real lie EFT is telling the player base right now, so the true fans fully understand what is to come. That lie is the label of being in the beta stage of development, and I'm going to describe every planned feature that's up and coming that makes that true. I can't even begin to imagine how many people out there who are frustrated with Escape from Tarkov think that this is what the final game is going to look like, when in reality, practically everything that you are looking at right now will be manipulated in some way before the game is actually ready for the real beta, let alone full release. EFT is not in beta. Beta stage testing essentially means the features and mechanics of the game are finished. They're just ironing out the final outstanding issues. This is otherwise described as pencils down. You don't add anything else, you only fix or balance what's there. These days, most studios call public releases whatever they want, and when in beta, mostly do what's intended, but sometimes add new maps or content that add to the game for sure, but don't significantly change the core while making proper adjustments as well. This is so far from the truth with Tarkov that I don't even need to explain it. Nikita Buyanov, the lead dev of Escape from Tarkov, already has, when in his own words, described Escape from Tarkov as only about 65% done back in the fall of last year. Generally speaking, the game has seen the Woods expansion, a new NPC faction, heavy bleeds, the compass, the grenade launcher, and some new caliber guns added since then in terms of real features. Everything else that's been done can be considered tuning, which does belong in the beta stage of development. I personally don't really see guns and maps as new features. I see them more as flavor, and that's where the definition of beta can be stretched a bit. However, when there is still around 35% of the core game's content left, that's not flavor, that's an entire course of the meal. What fills that 35% is what I cover mostly on this channel, and you can find specific details in my Changing Point playlist, as well as my news playlist, but here's a quick TLDR. Starting with your first day in Tarkov, the entire new user experience has yet to be implemented. As we all know, unless you have a friend who already plays Escape from Tarkov to teach you how to play, you are left completely clueless on what to do on absolutely everything in the game. I would not be surprised if somewhere in the world someone thinks EFT is just a game where you buy and sell stuff to traders and are still trying to figure out how to unlock Jaeger. The current plan is to have a single location dedicated to an introduction to the game where it teaches you some basics but leaves most of the core gameplay for you to figure out. Once you leave that first location, you're on your own, and that's all we know right now. Past that, you'll be able to play offline with your friends for even better instruction or understanding of something, but you won't be able to progress in that at all. Now that is just the introduction to the game for new players. The core gameplay is planned to change in every aspect imaginable. Guns will overheat and jam depending on their durability or ammo type, which depends on where you get them. Even traders will sell iffy weapons sometimes. Speaking of traders, there will be new ones added, and some, if not all, will only be accessible in raid. We might see the end of easily buying the best meds from Therapist or ammo from Prapper before our first raids. Speaking of raids, the map will change. We have 7 maps right now, but there's still 5 more to go, including the most ambitious Streets of Tarkov. There's still expansions coming to the current maps as well, like Factory and maybe even Customs again. The way you access those maps will change with map-to-map travel and ultimately open world. The way you survive those locations will change with new enemies to face like NPCs and bosses. Around launch for Escape from Tarkov, there might be so many AI to fight on the maps that it becomes rare to see other player PMCs, which is actually kind of intended, but the explanation of that is for a different video. Along with that comes new forms of movement where you can vault, climb ladders, or take down a foe who gets too close with either a kick, push, or even a melee takedown. When you're ready, there will be new extraction types and even drops where you don't need to physically leave, just send your loot to your hideout. All of this happening with new hurdles to navigate like Karma, where you'll need to be careful how you interact with others in the open world. During those interactions, you or they might not be what they seem based on their equipment because of how armor hitboxes are going to work. You'll need to actually be worried about anyone with a sharp stick when those gaps in your vest become real. If you end up getting hurt, you'll be lucky to have a friend with you because there will be ways to help and or resuscitate some types of players if badly injured. The defibrillator will be real and you'll be able to carry or drag your buddies. Just don't spend too long away from your hideout unless you remember to actually start really paying attention to where your fatigue, food, and water levels are at. Not to forget your radiation levels as well, since there will be harmful environments you'll need to be prepared for. If you like to use powerful night vision or thermal optics, you'll need to remember to bring batteries for them, but if you forget, you can just flip on the lights with the switches on the walls. Then again, the power might not be on, so you'll need to figure that out, and if a locked door gets in your way, just pick it open. If you don't have a pick on you, then you can just try to kick, pry, and then ultimately shoot or blow the door open. Then of course, it would be nice to know why you're even doing any of this with the implementation of a full storyline as well. Everything I just described are considered new features that don't belong in a beta, and I didn't even cover the new weapon calibers, heavy weapons, explosives, graphic overhauls, engine updates, or DLC, because those are all pretty self-explanatory, and it's debatable on whether that actually belongs in a beta or not. I'm sure I could have missed something, or some things might have changed along the way as well, where a bunch of this hasn't been spoken about recently by Nikita or anyone at BSG. So while we're on that subject, it's good to remember that these are all just planned features. Any of them can be canceled and are all, of course, subject to change. But if that makes you guys worried and you don't want to take my word for it, then go ahead and check out the wiki or the devcasts themselves. Everything I just mentioned is true. It has been either detailed or at least spoken about by Nikita himself or someone at BSG over the past few years. When possible, I try to get specifics from BSG and or Nikita himself, which I then post through my dev playlist. So another reason to stay tuned here on the channel. In conclusion, the only real lie anyone should be concerned about with Escape from Tarkov is that it is almost done and deserves to be called a beta when it is so far from it in reality. If you're worried about BSG only listening to streamers, it's because they play the game at a level most real fans will be at when they properly implement all the planned features, namely the new user experience and tutorials. Once you understand all of this and what's to come, you should understand why I urge people to take breaks. It's because Tarkov is not even close to being done yet. It's not useful to get angry or even burnt out when there's so much left to come. And that is going to do it for today, guys. If you want the latest news on the features listed in this video or just content in general, then check out my Tarkov playlists here. If you like this video, then you know the drill. Please subscribe. I really appreciate the people who do. Otherwise, I hope you at least learned something, and I also hope you have a nice day. See you guys.